Welcome back. My name is Mark Belache. I'm president of TorontoJobs.ca. I want to welcome you back to the Canadian Virtual Lawyers Conference on the main stage. We've got a great panel here lined up for the next half hour or so as we wrap up today's conference. So without further ado, I got a lot of people here I want to introduce and we'll go through. So starting clockwise on my screen, Matthew Vella is partner at Philly & Wakely LLP. First off, Matthew, thanks for being on here. And why don't you introduce yourself a little bit and talk a little bit about the kind of law that you practice and where you are located and so on?
Yeah, sure. So Philly & Wakely's strictly a management side labor and employment boutique. We're a fairly large shop. We got 50 lawyers who practice exclusively in management side employment. I'm mainly a labor litigator, so I fight unions for a living.
Okay. Must be interesting around these times, right?
It is.
And next up, thanks for being on here, Matthew. Next up, clockwise on my screen, Rachel Sachs is lawyer for seniors and aging clients, Sachs Law Professional Corporation. So interesting time, I'm sure. Rachel, if you can share a little bit about what's going on in your firm, what you do, the kind of work that you're involved with, and you are on mute, by the way, just so you know.
Sure. Thanks, Mark. So I am a real estate and wills and estates lawyer, and I do focus my firm on serving seniors and people who are aging or aging in transition, or however you want to call it. So for me, I kind of refocused my practice into these areas at the start of the pandemic, which when you think about working with seniors in a pandemic, it's kind of a terrible idea. But it's been interesting and it has sort of worked. And you know, everything, I just look at my firm as kind of an iterative process in the practice of law as a whole, as just continuously needing improvement. So that definitely helps. And we're based in North York, and it's mostly me and the occasional students who help out.
Terrific. And how long have you been practicing within your firm?
So I incorporated pretty shortly after my call, which was in 2017. But I wasn't really doing these areas until, as I said, like literally the beginning of the pandemic. So it's been an interesting time period for me.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Next up is David Rosenthal, is business lawyer for dentists at Spiegel Rosenthal Professional Corporation. David, thanks for being on here, and perhaps you can do a similar introduction about yourself and your practice.
Sure. Thank you for having me. First of all, it's fun to be here. A nice change from the paperwork. I'm basically, as you say, a business lawyer for dentists. So represent dentists buying and selling dental practices, corporate law. We maintain hundreds of dentistry professional corporations. Things have been a little crazy during COVID because dentists are essential services, but they're heavily regulated and those laws are changing. So we have to be in real time, very active in advising our clients.
Gotcha. Excellent. Well, thanks again for being on here as well. Andre Morocco is partner at Macmillan LLP. Thanks, Andre, for being on here. And go ahead, introduce yourself and what you do.
Thanks, Mark. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I'm a partner in the business law group at Macmillan with a specialty in franchise and distribution. And we work with a lot of international brands coming into Canada, as well as a lot of local brands that are looking to franchise their concept and expand here. And it's been pretty busy for us during the COVID period, which was somewhat unexpected. But as we've continued on during the course of the year, different brands have continued to look and prospect in Canada. So we've been pretty busy on that front.
Terrific. And where are you located as well, Andre?
Toronto.
You're in Toronto as well. Okay, terrific. Well, thanks for being on here. If you have any questions for the panel, we have a quite diverse panel. If you have any questions, by all means, throw them in the event or the stage chat, and I will moderate. So obviously the COVID has been the story of the last year or so. It has changed everything from where people are working from, legal issues and so on. So Matthew, maybe talk about yours. I mean, dealing with unions, employment, what's been going on the employment front, on the legal front?
Well, I mean, it's been really interesting because everything's new, right? And so one of the things that we've really had to adapt to is The firm is consistently putting out information and updates for our clients and things like that, but we've had to do a lot more of that as the government consistently changes regulations with the IDEL leaves and with the wage subsidies and things like that. There are questions popping up all the time. A lot of times the government will announce things that haven't been papered yet or legislated yet. So it's really been an interesting sort of scramble to keep up to date with the consistently changing employment laws, and then to try and engage with our clients and make sure that they're staying up to date with them as well. So, that's been the big shift, I think, over the course of the last year. Lots of learning experiences, lots of nuances we've never seen in the employment relationships as well. So it's been a big learning year for us and for our clients.
Thanks very much. And Rachel, you said that you practice on your own, you have students, but in terms of maybe the regulations and laws and how those have impacted you through COVID, you must have seen a lot with long-term care facilities, retirement homes, and so on. How has COVID and government laws impacted you, if at all?
For me, the biggest impact has been the difficulty getting in front of my clients and seeing clients. And I think I might be frozen. Am I frozen? Did I forget?
No, here we are.
Okay.
You're good.
Strange. Okay. So yeah, getting in front of senior clients who are in long-term care is next to impossible. A lot of my practice has seen a shift to, of course, doing things more virtually, including things like will signings, which, I mean, if I have a client who is older and I do have to deal with a capacity issue, then that becomes not impossible, but extremely difficult. There have been improvements. The government is bringing in legislation so that the virtual signing for wills has been extended, which is great. I haven't had a good look at it yet, so I'm not sure if there are any safeties built in to deal with clients who might have capacity issues. I expect those would continue to be best done in person. But I mean, on other things, like I've had other clients where, in a way, in these areas of law, typically a solo practitioner like myself would be working mostly in my general neighborhood, my area, my geographic area. But with COVID, I'm able to take clients. I've had clients who are in Ottawa, and that's fairly rare from what I can understand from my colleagues. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit of a weird mix. Like there have been, again, and not as bad as employment, but it's very difficult to know what's going to happen, what's going to come down the pipeline, what recommendations from the practice groups are going to be accepted by and implemented by the government, and which are just going to be not, to say it in a kind way. Mm-hmm. So there's been a lot of uncertainty all around, I think, and that's been difficult.
Right. And David, obviously dentists have been significantly impacted with everything going on with COVID, and you're involved with practices and exchange. What's going on in that area? Is it are people more likely to be selling or changing hands? Are they kind of holding tight for what it is? Like, what are you seeing?
It's all over the map. So a number of vendors who are thinking of selling in the next couple of years are tired and they don't want to deal with COVID. There's a lot of PPE that you've had to enclose all the operatories. There's fallow time. So there's been huge expenses that have to be incurred. The RCDS, the college, provides guidance in all of this, but there's a tremendous amount of change that's been going on. A lot of people just want to practice dentistry, so they want to sell. On the buy side, we're seeing associate dentists are not getting as much work. The owners are keeping that work for themselves because revenues are down. People are reluctant to come in. So now associates say, I better buy a practice. So the market has been was very active before COVID. It's still a vendor's market, and that's continuing on.
That's perfect. And Andre, what changes are you seeing with companies and organizations from outside Canada coming into Canada and changes there?
Yeah, it depends on the concept, the industry. There's obviously some that have been hard hit by the COVID pandemic conditions, fitness centres, full service restaurants, daycare centres, although some of them do continue to operate as emergency or critical services. But there's also been a number of pivots, obviously, in the restaurant space where people typically think of franchise businesses. They've pivoted to delivery, takeout, curbside pickup, and they've done very well, some of them exceeding pre-COVID sales. There's also been some M&A activity in the space, which is an area we practice in franchise acquisitions. And so you can imagine there's been some pretty good, what people would consider bargains out there, US brands that have operations in Canada being bought up. But there's been pretty buoyant by and large. We have had some mandates to challenge some of the restrictions by certain franchise brands in fitness space that feel they can comply with the restrictions or some of the government regulations, and yet are just being put in the same bucket as all of the fitness centres and big box gyms. But yeah, it is a mixed bag, and it depends on where the clients are. As far as international expansion, again, those that are doing well are taking opportunity to have less competition and looking to expand internationally, where previously there might have been more players in the market. There now is less, and so that's a good position for them. Some have pivoted out of their business entirely into new ventures, and so we've had a car detailing brand that has gone right into the disinfectant space and preparing products that would come in with a PPE sort of category. So it is mixed, but there is still a lot of activity out there in the franchise world.
Terrific. So if you're just joining, my name is Mark Belache. I'm president of TorontoJobs.ca. The panel consists of Rachel Sachs, lawyer for seniors and aging clients at Sachs Law Professional Corporation. David Rosenthal is business lawyer for dentists at Spiegel Rosenthal Professional Corporation. Matthew Velez, partner at Fillion Wakely LLP, and Andre Morocco is partner at McMillan LLP. So kind of open question to anybody. And by the way, if you have any questions for the panel, you want to know something about their practice or something that they say, by all means, throw them in the event and the stage chat, and I will come back. So kind of open question to anybody is, technology is always on the forefront. What's happening with technology, and everybody knows about Zoom and video conferencing and so on. But how has technology changed you, the way you do work, working from home, or managing teams, managing your staff, dealing with clients? It's open to anybody.
It's David. I'm going to read a quote from the CEO World Magazine, and I think it really summarized what's happened. The pandemic put digital transformation and innovation light years ahead of where everything would have been otherwise. And I really thought that captured it, and it's forced everybody to go online, go digital. We don't have a choice. I've been speaking with people at the courts, and they're Zooming now, and they're forced to. And the college law society is doing on-site, off-site rather, audits now. They don't come on. So it really has dramatically changed things, and I think we're probably 10 or 20 years in the future where we otherwise would have been. So I think, and the technology is just going to continue to expand. I recently saw something through the Law Society. The program's called AI for Litigators. AI, of course, being artificial intelligence, and that just tells me the technology is just going to continue to grow exponentially.
Anyone else? Matthew?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're litigating by Zoom now heavily, which is new and something that at the beginning, I think most litigators, we saw in April, May, everybody went, oh, no, let's wait, right? Like, well, just adjourn the hearing. Now everybody's realized that's not going to happen, so we're litigating by Zoom, and it's been an experience to see everybody get used to that, and it's working quite well. But what we're trying to do now is use the technology to stay connected. I mean, COVID, when you take a firm of 50 lawyers and push us all out of the office, I think the first 6 months, everybody hunkered down and focused on their practice. And now we're trying to use the technology to stay more connected and make sure our associates feel more connected. Tomorrow night, the firm's having a trivia night and a farewell to someone. And, we're doing more social stuff by Zoom now rather than just the practice of law in an attempt to try and make sure that we're not 50 sole practitioners sitting at home, but still keeping that cohesiveness of the group, right? So
do you think it will come back? I mean, we're talking about vaccines coming and so on. They say, Trudeau says by the end of September, everybody who wants a vaccine will be able to get one. Do you think it'll come back? Andre, what are your thoughts? You think it'll come back to where we were before?
Yeah, it's an interesting concept because a lot of my clients are international, and so this has enabled us to see each other at least by Zoom, where we previously have a call. And so in that context, we don't have, we never had a visit, so to speak, and as many of clients, and I'm sure others have the same experience, that we would never have typically met. And so I think that will certainly continue with the Zoom call, the opportunity, the virtual sense of what, the other client or person looks like and how, you interact. But on coming back, I personally have made the decision that once upon a time, working from home was just too much of a challenge. I think that's been tested to a maximum level. I've got 3 young boys, and virtual schooling was just a treat. I'll share this one anecdote. I had my 6-year-old here and was on a call. He's sharing the office with me, and he was asked to count by tens up to 100. And he turned his microphone on and said to his teacher, "Look, I can't do it right now. My dad's on a call and he's being very loud." And so I thought, okay, if I can weather this storm, certainly on the other end of this, we'll probably look to work from home at least, one day. You become functional. It works. And so working from home is something I think we will look to do. But I don't think it'll ever replace the event. And we're doing those social events, as Matthew was describing, with virtual pizza making nights and other things that the firms put on. But I say that we will get to some level of in-person. I just think this makes it more functional for us, that if we have to do things virtually, if it makes sense to do things virtually, then the platform that's available to it.
Oh, the funniest video, I'm not a cat, right? I mean, that was on the lower side. That was pretty funny. But Rachel, I'm curious with your area, and that is with you being able to connect with clients virtually and so on. Have they come out with anything to do with like fraud and because I'm assuming that we can't see somebody like you used to be able to because they're in a long-term care facility or in a home or whatever, and you can't see them. They might not be that technically proficient either. My dad's 91. He's pretty good with Zoom, but I know there's a lot of seniors that are not good with that. What do you do, or how have you gotten around that?
I can't say I've gotten around it yet. I definitely have a few of those situations that I'm trying to work through, and a lot of it is having multiple meetings with the person at different times as well, trying to figure out like what is the best time and space for them on the one side, and also like one of the typical things that I'm sure we all do if we're have any kind of virtual signing or confidential meeting of any kind is have the client or whoever's assisting them, if there is someone assisting them, as the case might be when you're dealing with older or disabled people, scan the room with their device, which again is, we do it because we kind of need to say, oh, well, we've done it, but it's such a troublesome point because, of course, like their internet capacity is probably not even going to be able to do that in a way that gives you a reliable video of what's around. So there's all kinds of technological burdens in addition to the human burdens and errors that you would normally encounter anyway, dealing with families. But you just got to do the best you can. So I have proposed to a number of clients that, I will come there if the place you're living will allow you to have a space on the ground floor, or I can be at a window, or I think in the summer it was a little easier because people could still go outside, and you could have those one-off visits outside. But now until everyone is vaccinated, there are a lot of things that I'm just hoping that that we can hold on that long, or that the clients can hold on that long to do, to be able to do things appropriately.
Yeah, that's good. What open question to anybody, but what areas of law do you feel have become more important over the last year? You know, whether it's in your practice or in general, what do you feel has become more important? David?
I would say probably, and Matthew, I'd ask you to comment, employment law. Matthew's already mentioned the laws are changing so much. It affects so many people in every industry. I don't know, Matthew, what do you think?
Well, yeah, we've obviously seen like dramatic changes in employment law and dramatic changes in the employment stratosphere, period, right? I mean, we've got thousands and thousands and thousands of hospitality workers on layoff. Malls are closed, then they reopen, then there's workforce management issues. Union activity is spiking dramatically right now as they try to keep themselves alive, because obviously there are no dues when people aren't making wages. So it has been a very transformative year in our practice area, and I think it will continue to be until things go back to normal. Now we're getting into managing the workforce during vaccinations. Are we going to allow rapid testing? What are we going to do for vaccination refusals? So it has been a pretty crazy year, and staying at the forefront has been interesting but challenging. So,
Andre, how about yourself? What areas have become more important over the last year?
I think those, not necessarily my practice area, but those of colleagues in my firm, it certainly has been the employment, real estate, regulatory departments or divisions of the firm that have been most active. And for obvious reasons, as we already discussed, the employment side of real estate as well, the massive vacancies and lease issues, and then the regulatory were trying to understand the restrictions and how they apply to businesses, and then lobbying governments to change where certain clients were looking for changes.
Mark, I think there's also going to be a lot more importance, and there should be placed on disability law and privacy. There's a whole whack of people that have been so much worse hit in this pandemic than us or the regular Joe or people who are in rural parts who don't have access to the technology to manage to continue to have connections or go to school, or I think there are these hidden parcels in our society that not just us, but the government, the media tends to ignore, and we're going to see a lot coming from those areas in the next few months to years, I think.
What about diversity and inclusion? I mean, that's obviously been big over the last year or so. How has that impacted any of you over the last year? Matthew, you must see quite a bit of it.
Yeah, it's impacted. Obviously, I think it's impacted everyone, probably everybody on this panel, and everybody, because it's important, and people are starting to realize more and more the importance of these issues. And so for us, it's been twofold. It's been dealing with diversity and inclusion as an employer and as a fair-sized law firm, and making sure that we're doing a good job with that, and that we're continually improving. And then of course our clients are coming forward with the same types of questions, and looking for policies and looking to advance their organizations as well. So it's definitely been, sort of a key factor, a non-COVID related key factor of discussions, both internally and with clients over the last year.
Okay, good. We've got a few minutes left. I got a few more questions here. And if you're watching and you have some questions for the panelists, by all means, put them in the event or the stage chat. I'll moderate. But what's your advice to new lawyers? David.
That's a good one.
Lawyers. We have young new lawyers that are watching. So what's your advice to them?
My best advice, I think, would be to forget money. and I don't mean that lightly. Focus on linking up with a good law firm or lawyer that can offer you substantive experience, because if you're in this game like I am for decades, you've got to build the building blocks. Yes, you may have a huge student loan and other pressing things, so I don't make light of that, but as you've got to build the base, and the experience you get at the beginning of your career will set the stage. And that's what I tell associates and dental students. I'm a guest lecturer at U of T and at Western, and I tell them, don't focus on the money. That will come in time. Get the substantive experience. I graduated in 1991. I'm sure nobody here on this panel remembers that, but that was a huge, not a depression, but it was a terrible time. And every lawyer who was a corporate lawyer was let go, and I just graduated. So I had to really hustle to get a job, and I made terrible money for a number of years. But again, knowing that if I get the experience in the long run, so you have to have patience as well.
Excellent. Now, Andre, advice to a new lawyer?
I would say look for the practices that have come through the pandemic. I think it's not something you just focus on exclusively, and you have to do what you're passionate about. But I think there is some lessons to be learned on the industries and businesses and even legal practices that have done well in this virtual environment, and focus on those sorts of practices.
Okay, terrific. Well, thanks very much. So we just have a couple minutes left. So maybe we'll just go around real quick to everybody and maybe wrap up anything that you want to share, and any awards, any upcoming events, something that you want to talk about, how someone can reach you, whatever, just throw it out there. So Matthew, why don't we start with you, and we'll go clockwise on my screen.
I don't know that I have anything coming up, a bunch of hearings, but no, I mean, obviously, I think you'll see me on more of the Toronto Jobs things. I love doing it, you guys, Mark. So, my contact information can be found. I did upload it into the system. I don't know, but you can just look up Philly and Wakely and can find me. I'm always happy to talk with young lawyers. I'm always happy to chat with people in the practice. I was very lucky to have good mentorship growing up in this practice, and I'm always happy to pass that along. So if anybody has follow-ups from today, just email me, please.
All right. Thanks, Matthew. Rachel?
I actually do have an event coming up, a couple. On Thursday evening for women or anyone who is interested, there is an excellent program, an OBA program coming up, Women in Tax, Prominent Women in Tax. We'll have a panel with some amazing women tax lawyers, followed by 2 breakout sessions where we'll work on problems that might help you issue spot, because tax, as we all know, affects every area of practice. So I urge you to come out to that if you're either interested in becoming a tax lawyer or just interested in improving your practice at all. And on March 25th, we also have by the way, I'm the chair of the OBA Women Lawyers Forum. We have a program, I can't remember, it has a very long title, but it's March 25th, and it's another amazing panel of women lawyers, and more information will be coming out on that soon. So if you follow me on any of the social medias at the SACS, on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on something else, Facebook, I guess. Or you can email me, rachel@saxlaw.ca. I'm always happy to chat with young lawyers, because I'm not too far ahead of you, so it's sometimes nice to speak to someone who's not too far out. And if you're an internationally trained lawyer as well, I've been there. So happy to chat anytime. Also, if you're struggling with parent and caregiver things, I have been there too, or am there currently, sort of.
That's great. Well, thanks very much, Rachel. David?
If you want to laugh, go to my website, drlaw.ca. It's just one page. I'm not active in that kind of technology like Rachel is. I do use LinkedIn. I'm devoted to education, so I do a lot of public speaking now through Zoom and everything virtually to dentists, dental students at the universities, the industry groups. I'm also a contributing author and a columnist for some of the dental magazines. It's very important to keep active, particularly now. You want to be using whatever tools that you can to let other professionals and your clients know that you're active and current in this market. I think, as Andre said, I think things will go back to what they were before, and this will become a distant nightmare. But we still have another year at least to get through, and I think it's important to continue to be as active as you can.
Excellent. And then for those of you watching, it's doctor spelled out doctorlaw.ca as well. So, and Andre, thanks. Wrap things up. Anything you want to?
Yeah, thank you. Sure, like pleasure to be on the panel. I appreciate it. If anybody's got any questions, anybody interested in the franchise and distribution area of practice, more than happy to field any questions offline, and you can send me your questions. Happy to chat.
Perfect. Well, thanks to each of you. Thanks to everybody who came to today's Canadian Virtual Lawyers Conference. My name is Mark Belache. I'm president of TorontoJobs.ca. The event today was presented by TorontoJobs.ca and TorontoEntrepreneurs.ca, powered by EventLogic.ca, Logic with a K. Again, if you, not again, but you will be receiving an email in the next 24 hours with a survey. Just let us know what you liked about today's event, what you want more of, less of, so we can get better for next time. And I want to thank the panel again, Rachel Sachs, lawyer for seniors and aging clients at Sachs Law Professional Corporation, David Rosenthal, business lawyer for dentists, Spiegel Rosenthal Professional Corporation, drlaw.ca, Matthew Vella, partner at Philly and Wakely LLP, and Andre Morocco, partner at Macmillan LLP. I want to thank TorontoJobs.ca. If you are looking for staff, feel free to connect at sales@TorontoJobs.ca, TorontoEntrepreneurs.ca. For business owners looking to network, you can check out upcoming events at TorontoEntrepreneurs.ca. EventLogic.ca. If there's an event you'd like to be done, planned, or held for you, make sure to visit the website. And also thanking the Social Sherpa, eliminate obscurity in digital marketing for small business owners, especially law firms. Reach out to Naima, who spoke earlier, at thesocialsherpa.com, SHERPA.com. And if you're interested in exhibitor sponsorship opportunities or to speak at one of our upcoming events, by all means, don't hesitate to do so. We have, this is just 3 of some of the many events that we have coming up. The Canadian Virtual Presidents Conference happens this Thursday, February 25th. The CPA Firm Partners Conference happens Tuesday, March 16th. And the Canadian Employment Law Conference happens on Friday, March 26th. So make sure to jot those down. For more information about all those events, you can visit EventLogic with a K.ca or TorontoJobs.ca/NEWS. You can follow TorontoJobs.ca on all our social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and check out and subscribe to our Toronto Jobs YouTube channel. And thank you for coming. We actually tack on an extra 10 minutes to the event, so there's still time for you to go into the expo. You can check out the networking. You can hang out a little bit more and connect with other people. And thanks very much to all of you again. Thanks to everybody who watched and who came. And have a great day. Stay safe, and hopefully this will be over and done with relatively soon, at least 2021, the pandemic, that is, of course. So thanks again, and all the best to all of you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.